He only wanted to get his daughter home before the rain. He never meant to step into the chaos. But when a terrified stranger clung to his arm, begging for help, Milo Green had a choice: walk away, or risk everything for someone he didn't know. What he didn't expect was that the woman he saved was a voice heard by millions, and that one moment of kindness would unravel the life he thought he knew forever. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. Milo Green hadn't planned on walking through City Square that afternoon. He only wanted to get his daughter Lena home before the rain came down. The sky was already heavy with clouds, the kind that made everything feel quieter even when it wasn't. "Daddy, why are the people yelling?" Lena asked, her small hand tightening around his. She was 7, with a loose braid that bounced with every step and a backpack full of stickers and school drawings. Her voice was soft but worried as the noise of the protest grew louder around them. Signs waved above the crowd. Voices shouted things she didn't understand. Milo looked down at her with a calm face. "It's okay, Peanut. We're just passing through. We'll be home soon." But the crowd had grown fast, spreading like spilled water. People poured in from side streets. Chants echoed off the brick walls of the buildings. It wasn't violent, not yet, but the energy was sharp. People pushed, hurried, bumped into each other. Tension hummed in the air like a wire pulled too tight. Milo lifted Lena into his arms. She was getting heavy, but he didn't mind. She wrapped her arms around his neck, her cheek resting on his shoulder. They were halfway across the square when it happened. A scream cut through the noise. Sharp, real. Milo turned his head just in time to see a woman stumble through the crowd. She wore a hoodie pulled low and large sunglasses that almost covered her face. 2 men tried to stop her, but she ducked past them and crashed into Milo, grabbing onto his arm like she was drowning. "Please," she gasped, her voice shaky and low. "I can't stay here. I need to get out. Now." Her fingers trembled where they clutched his sleeve. Milo didn't ask questions. He didn't pause. "Follow me," he said simply. He shifted Lena higher in his arms and wrapped his free arm around the stranger's shoulders. His voice cut through the chaos. "Coming through. Watch out." He didn't shout, but people moved. There was something solid in the way he stood, the way he pushed forward. Years of working as a mechanic had built his body strong, steady. He knew how to move through tight places, how to stay calm when everything else was loud. They turned down a side street. It was quieter here, the echo of the protest fading with each step. He ducked into an alley he used to walk years ago when the city still felt like home. Behind a row of shuttered shops and old restaurants, the noise finally melted into a hum. Only then did he stop. The woman bent over, hands on her knees, trying to catch her breath. She slid her sunglasses off and looked up. Milo stared. Her face looked familiar. Not just familiar, famous. He'd seen it on posters, in music stores, on TV commercials. He blinked, trying to piece it together. "You're," he began, not quite sure if he was right. "I'm Ivy Calder," she said, brushing a strand of hair out of her face. "And you just pulled me out of a place I didn't think I'd make it out of." Milo shifted Lena in his arms. "I didn't know it was you. Just saw someone who needed help." Ivy's eyes searched his face like she was trying to figure out how he worked. Most people would have asked, or pulled out their phones. "You didn't." He shrugged. "I didn't seem like the right time." Lena leaned over his shoulder, studying Ivy. "You're the music lady," she said, wide-eyed. "From the radio. Mommy used to sing your songs." Ivy knelt down, her voice gentle. "That's me." Milo cleared his throat. "We didn't mean to get caught in all that mess. I was just trying to walk her home." "You were incredible back there," Ivy said, standing again. "You didn't even hesitate. You looked scared." That was enough. For a moment, Ivy just looked at him. Then quietly she asked, "What's your name?" "Milo Green." She smiled, a little breathless. "Milo Green, can I buy you a coffee?" He let out a dry laugh. "I'd love to, but she's got math homework and I've got leftovers waiting at home." Ivy tilted her head. You a single dad? Yeah, he said simply. Been just us for a few years now. I'm sorry, she said softer now. Me too. But we get by. She hesitated. Can I give you something? For helping me? Milo shook his head. Not looking for anything. Just glad you're safe. She stared at him like she didn't quite understand. You know, most people would give anything to get 10 feet from me. He gave a small smile. I'm not most people. He started to walk away, but Lena tugged his coat. Daddy, can we go see the music lady sing? Ivy stepped forward. I have a show tomorrow night, big one, VIP seats, I can send a car. Milo looked at Lena's hopeful eyes, then at Ivy. One night, he said. Ivy grinned like she just won something important. As they left, the sky finally opened. Rain began to fall in gentle drops, soaking the city that had just calmed down. But for the first time all day, Milo felt something unexpected. Not fear, not worry, something lighter, something like a beginning. The next evening, just before sunset, a black car pulled up in front of the small apartment building where Milo lived. The paint on the steps was peeling, and the hallway lights flickered. Sometimes, but it was home. Milo stood at the curb with Lena, who wore a borrowed blue dress that swayed when she twirled. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and her hand clutched his tightly. Milo had done his best with a clean shirt and his nicest pair of jeans, though he still felt out of place. The driver stepped out and handed Milo a simple envelope. Inside were 2 front-row tickets and shiny passes that read all access. There was also a note written in flowing letters. You didn't ask for anything. Let me offer this. Ivy. Lena tugged his hand. Daddy, we're going to a real concert. Looks like it, Milo said, smiling. Inside the venue, the world shifted. The lights were bright, the seats velvet, and the stage glowed like a dream. It was loud, but the good kind of loud, full of life, not anger. Lena had never seen so many people cheering at once. When Ivy stepped onto the stage, the crowd roared, but even with the noise, her eyes found Milo and Lena right away. She smiled, soft and steady, and then the music began. Ivy's voice was smooth and deep, filled with feeling. Milo wasn't the type to care much about singers or stages, but something about this was different. The first verses were gentle, quiet. It felt like they weren't meant for the whole room, just for him. Lena swayed beside him, mouthing the words to a song she knew from the radio. She leaned in. She's really good, Daddy. Milo nodded. She is. After the final song, the lights dimmed and Ivy disappeared backstage. Milo stood to leave, but an usher appeared beside him. Miss Calder would like to see you both if you have time. Lena clapped her hands. Yes, please. They followed the usher through a maze of hallways until they reached a quiet room with soft couches and a table of snacks. Ivy walked in, still glowing from the performance but now without the spotlight. Her face was bare and her hair was pulled back. You made it, she said, walking over. Milo nodded. We did. You looked like you were ready to bolt, she teased gently. Wasn't sure this was my kind of place, he admitted. Ivy laughed. Me neither, most days. Lena helped herself to a small cookie. You were really loud, but the good kind of loud. Thank you, Ivy said with a wink. Milo glanced around. Do you always meet strangers after shows? Only the ones who carry me out of trouble with a kid on their hip, she said, sitting down across from him. How's your night been? Pretty unreal, he said honestly. This is a lot. Ivy leaned back. I get that. Sometimes it's too much for me too. Milo didn't know what to say, so he just looked at her. She didn't seem like the person he saw on posters. She seemed normal, tired maybe, thoughtful. She spoke again. Do you want to come by my place tomorrow? Just for dinner. Something quiet. No cameras, no shows. Milo hesitated. I don't know. Lena's got school the next day. I'll make it an early night, she offered. I don't get many chances to have a real conversation. He looked at Lena, who was now arranging crackers into a smiley face on a napkin. Okay, he said softly. We'll come. The next evening, Ivy welcomed them into a cozy home on the edge of the city. Not a mansion, not a castle, just a warm place with shelves full of books and records. Candles flickered on the table. Ivy wore a soft sweater and jeans. "This is more your speed?" she asked. "Definitely," Milo said. They ate pasta and salad while Lena talked about her science project and asked Ivy if being famous meant she had to wake up extra early. "Sometimes," Ivy said, smiling, "but I'd trade it for sleeping in." After dinner, Ivy led them to a small music room. There was a piano in the corner and a few guitars leaning against the wall. She sat down and strummed a quiet tune. "Anyone here play?" she asked. Milo shrugged. "I used to. Just enough to get by." "Prove it," she said, handing him a guitar. Milo sat beside her and played a slow, simple rhythm. Ivy joined in with her voice, soft and low. They didn't speak. The song wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. But it felt real. When they finished, there was silence. Lena had curled up on the couch, eyes drooping. Ivy looked at Milo. "I haven't sung like that in a long time." "Why not?" "Because no one's ever just listened, not without wanting something." Milo met her eyes. "I'm listening." She stepped closer, her expression gentler now. "You always this honest with strangers?" "You stopped being a stranger when you gave my daughter that look on her face." She smiled and reached for his hand. "Thank you for tonight." He didn't say anything. He just held her hand a little tighter. Milo was fixing a squeaky cabinet door when his phone rang. It was Ivy. Her voice came through fast, almost nervous. "Are you busy tonight?" she asked. He wiped his hands on a towel. "Depends, Lena's with me." "I figured," she said quickly. "I've arranged a sitter from a trusted agency. She'll come to your place. I just really need you tonight." Milo paused. "What's going on?" "There's a music gala," Ivy said. "Big one. My label wants me to show up with someone they picked. A fake date, a fake smile, all for press." "And you're not okay with that?" Milo said. "No," Ivy replied. "I'm done playing that game. But if I show up alone, they'll spin it their way. If I show up with someone real, someone they didn't choose, it sends a message." Milo's voice was low. "You want me to be that message?" "I want you to stand beside me," Ivy said. "Not as a favor, because it feels right." Milo looked out the window. The sky was turning gold with evening light. He could hear Lena humming in the next room, playing with her stuffed animals. "What time?" he asked. 7, she said, hope rising in her voice. "I already sent something for you to wear. It should fit." Milo found the garment bag hanging on the doorknob. He hadn't even noticed it had arrived. Inside was a simple black suit and polished shoes. Not flashy, just clean and well made. "I'll be ready," he said. At 7 sharp, the sitter arrived. Lena gave her a curious look but relaxed when she saw the coloring books and gentle smile. Milo kissed his daughter's forehead. "I won't be long." Outside, a sleek black car waited. The city lights stretched across the streets as they drove, quiet and smooth. When they pulled up to the gala, cameras flashed like lightning. A red carpet led into a glass building glowing with music and voices. Milo stepped out and froze. Ivy stood waiting near the entrance, wearing a dark green dress that shimmered like forest leaves. Her hair was pulled back, her face calm, but her eyes lit up when she saw him. "You came?" she said. "You asked?" He replied. She smiled and took his hand. "Just look at me. Ignore everything else." He nodded, his jaw tight. The cameras were loud, the lights bright. People shouted Ivy's name, but she didn't let go of his hand, not even once. Inside, the noise shifted. Soft music played and servers passed around trays of tiny foods Milo didn't recognize. Chandeliers hung above, casting shadows that danced on the floor. People stared. Man in a velvet suit approached them. He had slicked back hair and a voice that carried. "Ivy, we need to talk," he said sharply. "Later, Marcus," Ivy replied without flinching. "This isn't a game. He snapped. You walk in here with someone like him, you're risking everything. Ivy's voice stayed calm. I already walked away from the contract. Marcus's jaw clenched. You won't have a career left. Then I'll build one on my own, she said. He turned and stormed off. Milo raised an eyebrow. That went well. Ivy laughed under her breath. Better than expected. They moved to a quiet corner near a string quartet. Milo tugged at his collar. These jackets are heavier than they look. They're not made for comfort, she said. Figures. Ivy leaned in a little. You've barely said a word since we got here. Just trying to keep up, Milo said. I fix engines and pack school lunches. This isn't my world. She touched his arm. Maybe I don't want this world anymore. He looked at her. You'd give all this up? I already have, she said. Not everything matters the way I thought it did. What matters now is being real. Milo's voice dropped. Why me? Because you never asked me to be anyone but myself, she said softly. And when things fell apart, you didn't run. You stood by me. He stared at her hand in his. I don't know how to give you what you're used to. I don't want what I'm used to, she said. I want this. I want you. He exhaled. Then let's go. Let's leave this behind. They slipped out through a side door. No more cameras. No more noise. Ivy took off her heels and walked barefoot beside him. They got into the waiting car, but instead of heading back to her house, Milo gave the driver a new address. Where are we going? Ivy asked. Someplace quiet, he said. They drove for 20 minutes until they reached a hill that overlooked the river. There was no one around, just the sound of water and the soft rustle of trees. I used to bring Lena here, Milo said. We'd throw crackers to the ducks and pretend they were river pirates. Ivy laughed, the kind that came from deep in her chest. She sounds amazing. She is. They stood by the railing, watching the city lights reflect on the water. What happens now? She asked. That depends on you, he said. I want to try. Whatever this is, I want to try. She reached for his hand. Then we try. The wind was soft, the night quiet. For the first time in a long time, neither of them felt lost. They just felt found. 3 months later, the house smelled like cinnamon and old wood. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows of the small cottage Milo had inherited from his grandfather. It wasn't fancy, just 3 rooms, creaky floorboards, and a porch that leaned a little to one side. But it was theirs. Ivy stood by the window, wearing a loose shirt and jeans, her hair pulled back in a low braid. She sipped her tea as she watched Lena run through the backyard, chasing butterflies and laughter. Milo entered carrying a box of tools. His shirt was dusty, his hands marked with paint. He kissed Ivy on the cheek. That cabinet in the hallway's finally fixed, he said. You mean it opens without screaming? She asked with a smile. Well, almost. They laughed together, the kind of laugh that came easy now, born of shared mornings and long talks over dinner. Ivy set her mug down. You know, I never imagined this life. The quiet one, Milo asked. The real one, she said. I thought I'd always be singing to strangers, sleeping in hotels, eating, alone. Milo looked around the kitchen. The walls were covered in kids' drawings, recipes written in pencil, and Ivy's handwritten lyrics. In the corner stood an old upright piano Ivy had bought second-hand. She played it every evening now, just for the joy of it. That afternoon, Ivy took Milo's hand and led him into the garden. It was filled with lemon trees and wildflowers. Birds sang in the branches above them, and the sun warmed the path beneath their feet. There's something I want to show you, Ivy said. They followed a narrow trail behind the house, where Ivy had set up a tiny greenhouse. Inside were pots of herbs, scraps of paper, and a notebook filled with lyrics. I've been writing again, she said, lifting the notebook and handing it to him. Milo opened it and began to read. The words were raw and full of heart. They told the story of a woman who lost herself in fame, then found her way back through kindness, music, and love. There were verses about Lena, about rain on the porch and late-night dances in the kitchen. They're beautiful, Milo said quietly. Ivy stepped closer. I got a message from a small label. They heard my songs online. They want to help me release them. No contracts, no image rules, just me, the way I am. Do you want that? He asked. Only if it fits around this, she said, placing her hand on his chest. Our life, our rhythm. Milo pulled a small box from his pocket. It was scratched, old, but carefully polished. He opened it to reveal a simple gold ring with a tiny stone. It was my mom's, he said. My dad gave it to her after his first job at the dock. She wore it every day. Ivy's eyes filled with tears. It's perfect. I don't have much, he said. But I have this. And I have you. And I want to build a life with you. Not around the noise, but through the quiet. Ivy took the ring, her hand shaking slightly. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 100 times. From behind the garden, Lena came running, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Daddy, look, I made a wedding. Milo laughed and lifted her into his arms. Guess we better get started then. The wedding was simple, held under the string lights they hung between the trees. Neighbors came, friends from town brought food and laughter. Ivy wore a dress that brushed her calves in a crown of tiny blossoms. Lena scattered petals down the path, barefoot and beaming. When it was time for the vows, Milo held Ivy's hands and said, I never thought I'd find this again. A place to be seen, to be still. You brought me back. Ivy replied, You didn't ask for anything but gave me everything. Now I know what home feels like. Just before the kiss, Lena shouted, Do it already. And everyone burst out laughing. As the sun dipped low, they danced on the grass under a sky filled with stars. The music wasn't loud. It came from Ivy's guitar, from clapping hands, from hearts full of joy. Weeks later, Ivy sat on the porch holding her guitar while Lena leaned against her side, scribbling in a notebook. I wrote a song, Lena said. Want to hear it? Of course, Ivy replied. Lena opened her page. The lines were uneven, the words a little wobbly. Home is hugs, home is pancakes, home is music, home is us. Ivy kissed the top of her head. It's perfect. Inside, Milo stirred soup on the stove and looked out the window at the two people who had changed his life forever. This wasn't the life anyone had written for them. No spotlights, no applause, just roots, just love, just melodies shared in the quiet. And that was more than enough.